Welcome back to our live coverage of AWS Developer Day. I am still and will always be A.M. Grabelny. That is my curse. Joined by Farrah Campbell.
I'm still Farrah Campbell today.
Farrah.
I am.
Yeah, haven't changed identities yet.
Not today.
No.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. All right.
Or maybe later. Maybe later in the day.
Never know. You never know.
I might be resurrected like dinosaurs were, like to a new name.
Terrible lizards. That's what those are, by the way.
Well, like Jurassic Park, the scientists resurrected them. So
that's true. They did. Yeah. Anyways, moving on from that, we are joined by two great new friends that are going to talk to us about one of my favorite topics. I've had a lot of favorite topics today, but this is topping the list for me. We're talking .NET. Let's start all the way at the end. Please introduce yourself for everybody.
All right. Hello, my name is Eva Knight, and I am from the Amazon Q Developer go-to-market team based here in Seattle. So very excited to be here with you all.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Arthur. I'm a solution architect from the Amazon Q Developer team. I'm based in Vancouver, beautiful British Columbia. You can see by my cool sticker
Very cool.
on my computer.
It is beautiful. I love British Columbia. We could spend the next 17 minutes talking about how much I love British Columbia. Victoria, one of my favorite places on the planet. Anyways, moving on from that as well, before I get us in trouble, because we don't talk about .NET, which we have to.
We have to.
Well, he's been so excited.
Yeah.
He's been ready for this since we started.
I have. And look, I've done .NET development for a long time. I get pulled away to do things like Python, and I cry, but I love it too, just in a different way. So I get pulled away. I haven't kept up to date with the latest in .NET, but I've heard really exciting things about like things like .NET Aspire. But in order to use some of these new things, a lot of people, a lot of companies, they have to migrate legacy framework applications, and you're telling me that there's a way to do that with Q Developer, right?
There is, yes. That's what we're going to cover today. Yeah. So this is a huge problem. We know that migration and modernization is hard. It's tedious and time consuming. I know Arthur likes to say that he still has scars from his modernizations back in the day. But for this reason, we have our transformation capabilities that we launched first with Java back at reInvent in 2023 to help upgrade Java 8 and 11 applications to Java 17 and now Java 21. And this sparked a lot of excitement in our customers and got them thinking about other ways they could use transformation capabilities in their organization, one of them being .NET framework versions. They need to get them to .NET Core, whether they're looking to move from Windows operating systems to Linux or just get rid of that old dinosaur code, if you will. So for this reason, we launched our .NET transformation capability at reInvent this past year. So it's available in preview in Visual Studio. And we also launched our new web application experience for transformations, including .NET, as well as mainframe and VMware workloads. So a lot of exciting stuff, but today we wanted to show you the .NET transformations in Visual Studio.
You've got VS pulled up too. I see it. Let's bring up the screen so we can all see it as well. And we're working in, if you've ever done any .NET on AWS samples before, this is going to look maybe familiar. This is a classic.
A Bob's Bookstore classic.
A Bob's Bookstore. It never goes out of style.
No.
Perennial.
Never.
Just like you.
I think that's arguable, but yes, sure. We'll say okay to that.
Yeah.
All right, so Bob's Bookstore, and we're running on what version here?
So this is an MVC application running in .NET Framework 4.8.
Okay.
And we're going to use Q to help us get it to .NET 8. So you can see here, I know Brian walked you through the chat. We're familiar with that. But we can see here down in the bottom left corner, based on that Q icon, that we're connected. But for the transformation, we actually don't need to use the chat at all. Q can help us transform at the project or the solution level. So we're going to go ahead and click the solution, hit it with a right click, and it's going to open up a menu. And to kick off that transformation, we're just going to click Port Solution with Amazon Q Developer. Pretty straightforward. And like I said, we want to get to .NET 8, and we want Q to include our .NET Standard projects as well. So once I hit start, it's going to kick off that transformation process. And first, what Q is going to do is build the application locally to ensure it has the dependencies and everything needed in order to run, so that it can then take the application to a secure sandbox environment and start to analyze and plan the transformation, and it'll go through a series of steps to do so. So
I love it. And just for anybody watching in chat, if you're not familiar with .NET development, this is applicable to a lot of different types of languages, lots of frameworks. Like there was a full-on fossil record that we could go and evaluate here from the .NET side, because, like the Paleolithic era, let's say, .NET used to only run on Windows. That was your only choice as an operating system. And then there was a lot of work to open source all of the .NET framework. And now, fast forward to our era that we're currently in, you can run it lots of places, right? And Linux is one of these targets. That's what you're working towards today, right? Is taking this application that was only applicable on Windows, and let's open up and see other operating systems we can run it on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a huge goal for a lot of people, is getting it to be Linux ready. And you can see here, Q will go through and analyze our application. It's split it into what we call code groups, including any of the projects and dependencies are needed to run that transformation. And you can see here we have somewhere stating target version readiness and Linux readiness. So Q is going to go ahead and give an assessment of how likely it is going to be able to get it to that Linux ready state. But it's also going to generate a report that we'll touch on later that goes through the recommendations on what steps you need to take to get a fully transform application running on Linux. So we can see here in our transformation hub, don't want to move it there, that Q's gone ahead and it's built successfully. It's going through and it went ahead and analyzed and created a transformation plan. So this kind of gives our high level series of steps that Q's going to go through and work to implement the changes. It's going to upgrade files, APIs, etc. So that kind of is where we see those steps.
Yeah, this is what you're always asking me for, right? Is a plan. You keep saying like,
I like plans.
we need a plan, AM. We need a plan. And I'm like, plan? What's that? I don't know. So it's nice to see Q doing it.
Yeah.
So that's going to outline all the steps it's going to take when it goes to evaluating what needs to be migrated to different libraries, things like that. I wanted to ask, are there any areas in particular that I, as the developer who's going to then look at this code, where should I focus, right, in terms of, common areas you see customers transforming their code in a .NET framework to a .NET Core application?
Right. So currently, we're not migrating everything.
Okay.
This is the goal. So as an example, UI UX is something that we're not currently transforming.
Okay, so like Razor pages.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you're migrating, we have to go ahead and fix those components. What I have noticed, and then this is something I recommend customers should do it, use Q chat, ask a question, fix the issue. Most likely, every other page, you have the same component right there. So it happened to me, I had like a combo box, several pages. I fixed once, fixed them all. So the copy and paste, easily done. Once you fix them all, just publish to your container, and it's going to be working from there. Something else you have to pay attention to. You might have a library that isn't a correspondent to .NET 8.
Just doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. It's like a dinosaur, like a library. Doesn't exist anymore.
It's extinct.
It's extinct, exactly.
Okay, great. So we've got this running in the background. Do we have a finished version you all want to look at?
Yes. Yeah. So these can be fairly long-running jobs, up to 12 hours, depending on the size and the makeup of your application.
Well, so we'll wait for 12 hours. Is what
Yeah.
you're
So
saying.
yeah.
All right, everybody.
We're gonna finish the show
Put
here.
12 hours on the clock. We'll wait in silence with you.
What happens if there's any interruptions or closures in Visual Studio?
Yeah, so because the transformation is running in the cloud, you're able to close Visual Studio, go on a walk, go grab some food, do whatever you need to do. and you can come back and select the project or solution that you were originally transforming, and it'll bring those results right back up so you can pick up where you left off. You don't have to sit there for the full 12 hours.
Go get a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
I like to sleep. So I sleep and the next day I can work on them.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Sleep is good.
Yeah.
It is good. Yeah. So we went ahead and did a little cooking show. We ran one earlier. And so we'll have Arthur go ahead and go through some of those results.
This is the fun part. So you can see everything is green. I like green icons.
Green's good.
Green's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So if you find anything that doesn't really work well, you see a different icon, and don't be afraid. It's still gonna go over your files and migrate as much as we can for you. You can just work whatever didn't work for you later. I can see a summary of the transformation. In the summary of transformation, now have to move a little bit more. I can see how many files, how many packages, APIs were changed in every project that I have. It gives me a ballpark idea how much of the change was done in my solution. But the fun part, something that I really like to see it, is the files that we transformed for you. And that can be seen in view diffs.
I think this is a really important thing to call out, Arthur, too, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, but, you know, the appearance of a summary, the appearance of viewing the changes. I'm not just going to run this and go, oh, great, my migration's done, right? I need to go review these files. I need to see what happened. I need to see if this impacted my project in the way that I was wanting it to. Is that right?
Right. And then you can take a look, like, for example, we have new files. So .NET framework doesn't have program CS file. Now we have to have a program CS file. And then as you can see, program CS file was provided to me through Qt.net. And then I know I can run. If I go and check different files, I can check like as much as I want. I have one that I really like specifically because it changes system.web. This is a really crucial library that people like to use. And then not only system.web, but all the calls, the API calls that I might have to change manually, Q did it for me. You can see all the changes, like them. Once I'm comfortable enough, I can select them all and say apply all changes. When I do this action, what's gonna happen? I will overwrite all my files locally. So now it is a time for me to try to compile my code, see what else I have to get done, and make sure that I can continue improving, modernizing my application. My next step would be fix those Razor pages, connect to AWS, publish to Fargate, and be happy. So next step for you is to give it a try. I think if you have a legacy application, you should give it a try. Give us feedback. We love to receive feedback from customers and to improve this application to make it to work for you.
Are there any common migration challenges that you've seen?
I've been talking to a lot of customers, and then I've seen customers with like a big monolith applications, like a 5 million lines, and that is a challenge by itself. What I keep telling those customers is like you'll be easier to break it down into pieces, because if Q gives you that many of changes, how would you tackle them all? You know, like small portions. I think it's great to do it.
It'd be hard to update and look at 5 million lines of code. Yeah, and
Well, this like brings to mind for me too. You know, it's very common, especially where .NET is prevalent in an environment, for service to have been built, and then the team or person in some cases working on that service is gone. Right. They don't work at the company anymore. They've retired. Whatever. You then have to come inherit this code, and you may not know what it's doing. Though we're looking at the transform tool today with QDeveloper, we've seen a lot of other tooling, right, with QDeveloper that I think can address some of, especially when you're going through this migration. You can use tools like the explain functionality in QDeveloper to highlight, some blocks of code and say, like, what is this doing? I've had that. I've literally said out loud to my laptop several times in my life, looking at a block of code going, what does this do, right? It'd be so nice to highlight it and send it to Q now and say, you tell me what it does. Okay, great. Any suggestions around that, that you two have seen customers commonly, once they've run their transformation, once they've got this migrated code, what are they using Q then past that in their workflows?
Right.
Yeah, and I think Arthur kind of touched on it a little bit, but you're likely going to have errors in your returned code. This tool is meant to be an accelerant, not a solution. And so there will likely be work that you need to do to then go get your application running on .NET 8. And so I think a lot of it goes back to using the chat, asking questions, figuring out error messages, finding ways to use the other capabilities of Q, like inline suggestions. I think there's a lot of tools that are resources and can be used to get you that last % of the way there to a fully transformed application.
Can I also ask a question for Eva?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because this is a question I get a lot from my customers.
Arthur is
Test
stealing our job as host, I think, but
this is a test.
I'll allow it.
May I? No, just kidding.
Yeah, Farah has to allow it, really. She's the authority.
Oh, stop.
Because historically, we have seen like a tools that does also offer migrations, like a porting .NET legacy to like a .NET 8. What is different in this tool?
It's a test, isn't it? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so there are a lot of tools out there in the market that help get your legacy .NET applications, try to get them to a newer version. And I think historically these have been more of a heuristic, rule-based tool, which are great at applying changes. We know that there's some things that just need to change to get to .NET 8. But Amazon Q uses its specialized agents that are trained. They are very well aware of these rules, but they can go ahead and go the extra mile to go through and actually go through that iterative and potentially tedious cycle of transformation and try to get you more of the way there. Did I pass?
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
Go ahead, Farah.
No,
I was going to say there was another thing that I saw. I thought. I believe it was specifically Linux readiness report.
Oh, sure.
Can we take a look at that and can you tell me what that is?
Yes.
Let's bring up Arthur's screen.
Let me find it in my summary. There we go.
So back to what we were setting out to accomplish, right? Let's see how close we got.
Yeah, I think we're pretty close.
Yeah, actions. And then I have an option to download a Linux readiness report. What that gives me, it's all the libraries that I have to manually fix. Maybe because they don't exist anymore, or maybe because they don't have a compatible version in Linux. So that is what gives me that information for I can manually go and fix it.
Oh, that's great too. So I don't have to go dig through and figure out. You're already providing me with that information. That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I'm glad I brought that up, actually. So that's
you're patting yourself on the back.
Very helpful. I want to know about that. So finally, before we are ejected out of here because we've got to get to our next segment, where do I get started with this? Do I just open up Visual Studio and download Amazon Q Developer?
Yeah, you can download the Amazon Q or AWS Toolkit with Amazon Q extension in Visual Studio and get logged in using your Amazon Q profile and go from there. Yeah.
I assume our friend Norm is probably, so shout out Norm. It's been a while. I'm sure he's not watching, but have to shout you out, Norm. And for everybody else in chat too, stick around, please, because we will be back with more.